So let's look. How am I going to celebrate life? What am I going to do? Well, first of all, I don't want to be like the person who says, well, the last time I felt good, about 9 a.m. 10 years ago. Or maybe, as I think about this, I think about the woman who was married to a very negative husband. You know, and no matter what she would do, he always found fault. And at breakfast, he would always find fault with her breakfast. No matter what he would do, she would find fault. So she thought one day, I'm going to get this bird. I'm going to show him, and he won't be able to find anything wrong with the breakfast. So she made pancakes, she made French toast, she had ham, she had bacon, she had boiled eggs, she had scrambled eggs, she had poached eggs, she had an omelet. She set it all out in front of him. She had white toast, she had whole wheat toast. Everything that he had complained about in the past, he couldn't complain about because it was all there and he could just pick the smorgasbord. However, some of us negative people, we can still find that little spot. And he looked at all of the feast and she proudly stood there. And he looked at the eggs and he saw the poached and he saw the boiled and he saw the scrambled and he saw the omelets. And he looked up at her and said, see, you boiled the wrong egg. Now, there are some people that sometimes we might just feel that way no matter what I do. So how are we going to celebrate life? What are we going to do? Well, number one, we need to look at the positive. What's good? Had a lady, stories of a lady who always complaining about her husband. Anything good about your husband? See, even in our marriage relationships, and my husband did a lot of marriage seminars and so forth, we need to look at what's good in our marriage. Oftentimes people always look at what's not good. But you need to look at what's good as well. And you build on the good to strengthen your marriage. Now, when we dated our spouse, our partner, by the way, you date a persona, you marry a person. I was much nicer when I dated. But anyone else, were you nicer when you dated? Anybody like that? Yeah, thank you for being honest with me. You know, and but you date a persona, you marry a person. And this husband he had a lot of faults, and she was just focusing on those faults. And when you focus on the faults, what do you see? The faults. You just see the faults. So he said to the person, okay, think of something good about your husband. There's nothing good. There has to be something good. No, there's nothing good. Think real hard. There's something good. Smile comes to the lady's face and says, well, he's bald, so he doesn't shed. All right, let's start with that. But let's look at the positive. Now, first of all, as we look at the positive, let's look at the positive in ourselves. What's good? Working 20 years in long-term care, most people, when they go to healthcare facilities, or even here, as you look at all the support here that we have here, there's a reason people come here, correct? Something's not working right. You know, something's not working right. Something, you know, and I thought about my facilities when I remember when I was running the Brown Manor, which was just this wonderful. It was licensed for 35, so it was kind of like this little Victorian inn for ladies over 80, and it was all women. Oh, it was a fun place. We even had their names on their plate. If they wanted 2 scoops of potatoes, they got 2 scoops. If they wanted the lace iron on their slip, we would do it. Staff hated, you know, they loved it when I offered that. But it was true, you know, we wanted to make them special. And to feel special. I had a lady come into the Brown home. She was 98 or 99 when she came in. And I said to her, I said, why are you coming to the Brown home? She goes, I don't know, I just keep living. She said, I thought I was going to die about 20 years ago and Pa died, but here I am. Then she said this to me. My kids are getting sick. Now think this through. When you're 100, how old will your oldest child be? Mine's going to be in the 80s, 82. So you know what? Be nice to the grandchildren. You want them to stop by you first. So she comes in. She was one of the neatest ladies I've ever known. She had her 100th birthday in my facility. And she would say to people when I'd show her room was so cute. So when I would give tours, I'd always show her room, and she'd sit in her little chair, and she'd say, "Are you going to tell them how old I am?" And I said, "No, I really can't tell them how old you are, but if you want to tell them how old you are, you may do so." And she'd look and smile, and she'd say, "I'm 100. And they'd go, "Oh, you're 100. She goes, "I know I don't look it." One day she's going down the hall, true story, hearing aid in both ears, thick little glasses, her little gray hair in a bun, just stereotype assisted living. You just couldn't draw a better picture. And she's going down the hall with her little walker. And I stood in front of her because what I wanted to do, and what I would do with my residents, instead of saying, "How are you today?" Now, again, for somebody in chronic pain, for somebody who is aging, we all have stuff that's not working, correct? And so what's the first thing? Now, sometimes we really do want to know, but sometimes you say, "How are you?" because you don't know what else to say. You do that at church, you ask somebody how they are before they even can tell you you're down the street, right? Why? Because you really don't care. You just, that's nice. How are you? You really don't care. But I would say to my residents, instead of "How are you?" because then that would focus on them and what's hurting. And they're focusing on the pain, and they're focusing on this stuff. So what I would say, and she's going down the hall, and I did it with her. I said, "What feels good today?" She looks at me because she goes, "What?" I said, "What feels good?" She goes, "What feels good?" I said, "Yeah, what feels good?" She goes, "My cheeks, both sets." Isn't that great? What feels good today? What feels good? Now, as a caregiver, we need to look at the positive in ourselves too. What's good today? What feels good today? So we look at the positive in ourselves. I have thin ankles. That's the only thin part of my body, other than my blood, which I can't take credit for. I have thin ankles. And so I'm going to celebrate thin ankles. Now, I'm so happy to find out, because when you're heavy, and I'm heavy. Actually, my son, one time I have different speaking outfits, and I had a new speaking outfit on, and my son battles his weight, and I battle my weight. And I said to my son, "Does this make me look heavy?" He goes, "Mother, iron is heavy, gold is heavy, we are fat." He said, "You never hear people say, 'Does this make me look light?'" Well, there's truth to that. But there are some advantages to being heavy. So you can look at the pot. I just learned one. It's easier for me to center on my stomach, because usually I'm trying to suck that sucker in. And you're just telling me to let it out. And so I thought and you said, because then some of us kind of chuckled, those of us who are heavier. And I was just glad my feet could reach the floor, by the way, too. But as I'm doing this, see, there's an advantage, because I've got a lot to focus on. As I'm doing and putting that air in and sticking it out, and I'm just going, see. So there's advantages to there's also other advantages to being heavy. For one is it fills in your wrinkles. It does. I was at lunch with my sister who's skinny. I'm actually her poster child. She has a picture of me up and just says, "Well, this is what I don't want to look like." And so I just give it. And when she's sitting across from me one day, and she's looking at me, and we are really close, by the way. And she says to me, I said, "What are you looking at?" She goes, "I think I have more wrinkles than you." I said, "You do." She goes, "Well, why?" I said, "I'm fat. I fill them out." You do, and actually there was research done on twins, identical twins, and the heavier twins always look younger. And then, of course, one of the other great advantages for those of us who are heavy, I went to get my bone density done. And first of all, I had to get on the table thing. And I'm here, and it's there, and so it was a planned event for me to even get on the table. And as I'm laying there, you feel really exposed when you're on that table, by the way. And the lady who was helping me was also a little happy, which made me feel better. And so as I'm going through the machine, she goes, "Oh my." I said, "Yes." She goes, "Why, you just have beautiful petite bones." I go, "Yes." And she says, "You have no bone loss." She said, "You have no bone loss." She said, "Your bones are great. You have no bone." She said, "So whatever you're doing, keep doing." I thought, Okay, this is the easiest thing anybody in healthcare has ever told me to do, because I wasn't doing a thing. I love that. I'm just going to keep doing it. I didn't have to do anything. And then she kind of pricked my bubble, but it was kind of interesting. She said, well, you know, how do you strengthen bones, by the way? Calcium, and how else? Weight-resistant exercises. That's how you do it. You do weight-resistant exercises. Guess what? I have my own built-in weight-resistant exercises. I don't have to buy barbells. I don't have to buy, I don't have to buy any of that stuff. Every time I climb the stairs, weight-resistant exercise. Every time I get out of a chair, weight-resistant exercise. I have all this weight-resistant exercise equipment attached to me. And oftentimes, those who are heavier, they do have less bone loss because of that. Now but don't everybody go out and gain weight. I'll tell you why. When you go to assisted living, if you're a 2-person assist, it costs more money. And so, you know, the little skinny people, they can just flip you all over the place, you know, and just move you. And so there is some downside to it. So I don't want everybody to just go. But let's humorously look at, okay, what's good? What's positive? First of all, in ourselves, what's good? Now, what I would like you to do right now, if you have a paper and a pencil, if you don't, think about it, but I want you to think of 5 things that's good about you. 5 things. Shall I narrow it to 3? Make you feel better? Okay, we'll do 3. Now, it can be anything. If you have good hair, if you got good teeth, you pretend you're a horse. You know, I don't care. If you know, if maybe you bought good teeth, I don't care. But 5 things, or 3 things that are good. Maybe you got beautiful eyes, and you know. Maybe you're a good cook. Maybe you really do realize you have the gift of helps. Maybe you have a good sense of humor. Maybe you're a good kisser. But think of, maybe you're a good cook, you know. Maybe you're good at math. I just marvel at people who are good at math, because I'm not. So 3 things you do well that are really positive about you. 3 things. 3 things.